in some of my earlier sales jobs, I wasn't that good because I didn't know how to internally process rejection. Like I didn't think of it as this thing that I should like accept, right? Because I think we're taught to not want to be rejected, right? Like ever since we were young, rejection was always a bad thing. But then in business, you start to realize, wow, well, business and entrepreneurship kind of turns that on its head, right? So in this video, I'm gonna walk through 3 points that have really helped me when it comes to sales and selling, two different things. If you want to learn more about that, I have another video outlining the difference. But understanding rejection has really helped me out a lot. So I'm gonna walk through 3 points here. So one of the first points is rejection isn't personal, it's data. So I used to always see no or not yet or not now. I used to always hear rejection as it being sort of an attack on me, sort of like hey, I don't like you. I don't like what you have to offer. I don't want what you have to offer. I don't care what you have to offer. And I used to take that personally. And what that did for me in that moment was I then stopped thinking that what I was doing had that significant amount of like value. So like, have you ever joined a business or joined a company, and when you first joined, you were like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And then after some time, if enough people reject you, you start to question whether or not what you have to sell is even valuable. Again, nothing changed with it yet. It's just the rejection starts to invalidate your perception of the value or of the offer that you had to provide, right? So the reality is rejection is just data. Rejection provides you with the ability to create these sort of like these measurements, this metric to say, hey, if I want to pursue success, I know that there's a percentage of people that I should expect to say no. The worst expectation to have, especially in business, is that everybody's going to tell you yes. I mean, that's the easiest way to fail. The easiest way to fail is to expect everyone to say yes. So now what I do is I look at rejection as data. When you go from like, they rejected me to things just didn't align, now rejection becomes like, it becomes qualification. It becomes clarity. It becomes an activity that enables you to get feedback to improve your approach towards like presenting your offer. So ultimately, like, this shift turns rejection into intelligence. So the second big point here is volume builds emotional immunity. And I'll say it another way. Volume starts to make your skin extremely thick. And this is a really good thing, because when you have thick skin, you then become resistant to that volatility that many of us have when it comes to processing rejection. When you avoid rejection, you're essentially avoiding opportunity. If you only reached out to, like, let's say 3 people and you got rejection, you then become emotionally like fragile. You start to crack really easily. But when you get to the point where you sent out 20 messages today, you made 15 calls, you sent 10 emails, like once you start to reach a certain level of volume, things start to change. Or there's a quote that goes, you have to sift through the dirt to get to the gold. And I'm not saying that people that tell you no are dirt. That's not what I'm saying. But when you think about the process of finding something valuable, oftentimes you have to move certain things out of the way. Years ago, the gold miners, they weren't finding gold on the surface. Like, they had to move the dirt around to get to the gold. They had to sift. By going through this process, that enables you to get to that thing that's valuable. Third and last point here is that rejection is proof that you're in the arena. Now, hear me out here, and this might be hard for some people to grasp, but if you're not getting rejected, that means you're not putting out offers, you're not getting on sales calls, you're not prospecting, you're not doing outreach, you're not taking risks, and you're not growing. You only really get rejected when you are visible and you're courageous and you're bold and you're out there and you're in the arena, when you're in the game. That's the only time you get rejected, is when you're in the game. So ultimately, rejection is evidence of effort. Like if you are in sales, you're in marketing, you're in entrepreneurship, like you're in a role where you have to be moving people to take action, or your activity needs to move people to take action. There will always be a set of people who are not there yet, or they're not there at all. They're not qualified. Years ago, I remember one of my mentors, he said, when you're in sales, some will, some won't, some wait. So what? Who's next? And I'm not saying that you should be that transactional with people in certain respects, because I think that there are certain things that you could sell that, or that you would be offering that, like, you're not just sifting through people like they're just like nothing, right? Like you have to do a level of sifting, but you also have to put a certain amount of energy into qualifying them as well, right? But the key here is to know that the less dependent you are on these strong or potential no's, the more you have leverage, the more leverage you have to be able to deliver a lot more value to those who do say yes. Like an example, like let's say I have something extremely valuable here, right? Extremely valuable here. And I walk up, and again, I'm in a parking lot here. I walk up and I ask this person, hey, would you like this thing? It's really valuable. And they tell me no. If I walk back to my car and I dip, how do you think how do you think they would perceive the value of the thing that I'm even offering? They would be like, you know what? By me saying no, or by them saying no, they validated or invalidated the value of that thing. Now, what if I offered them the thing? I offered person number 2 the thing, and I offered person number 3. Person number 3 goes, oh my gosh, hold on, what is that? That's that thing. I'm making this up on the fly here, by the way, right? Like I'm just freestyling here. I'm trying to figure out metaphorically how this is gonna work. So person 3 goes, man, like, yeah, like, hey, I'll take that. How much is it? I sell person number 3. If person number 1 and person number 2 are looking, what do you think happens? They start to think, what did I miss out on? And this same thing, the same concept happens socially, right? You reach out to 20 people on social media, 19 of them tell you no, 1 person tells you yes. You deliver immense value to the 20th person, and then you use that case study or that testimonial and you go and showcase, look at how much I helped person number 20. Now all the other 19 people are like, oh shit. I'm gonna follow him. Let me see. So now I go through another 20 people. 19 people tell me no. 1 person tells me yes. Now, again, if I don't go through the 19 people, I won't get to the 20th one to tell me yes. We have to start to embrace rejection in the right way. All right. So if you have any questions about this stuff, hit me up. I do have an ebook called Mastering the Art of Social Selling. Check it out in the description. There's a link. I think it's like 180 some odd pages. So here's one thing I want to tell you as a salesperson, business owner. We are living in a society right now where everything is fast. Everything is accelerated. Everything is, you want this thing, get it as fast as possible. Look, it takes studying this stuff. It takes slowing down. It takes reading. It takes consuming content, processing it. It takes processing it. Right now, I'm recording this video. I'm recording this video because in a parking lot, right? I needed my brakes to slow this car down so that I could stop the car and park the car. I couldn't record this video flying, going 120 miles an hour on the highway. I needed to slow down so I can process and produce and deliver. Okay. So again, same thing with you. Make sure you get into the habit of slowing down, because I'm noticing that a lot of entrepreneurs and salespeople, they're not growing because they're flying everywhere, and they don't have any time to process. So check out my ebook. If you have any questions, hit me up. Peace.